All right, get ready to spill the tea on Jane Austen, because we're diving deep, all thanks to this biography you sent us.
Oh,
It's
excellent.
not just, like, your average dry facts. This one's got the good stuff, the juicy bits about her life, loves, and trust me, there's some drama we'll get to.
I'm intrigued.
So, for anyone who hasn't cracked open Pride and Prejudice in a while, let's set the stage. We're talking late 1700s, early 1800s England. Where does Jane fit into all of this?
Well, she's born in 1775, Stephenson, a village in Hampshire. Now, her family, they weren't rolling in riches, but comfortable. Gentry, you see, the upper crust of rural society.
Okay, so picture this. Childhood home, tons of books, lively conversation, basically the OG bookworm with a big, fun family. Sounds kind of ideal.
Precisely. Her father, he was a clergyman, a scholar, huge influence on her love for literature. And it wasn't just her. All the kids were swept up in it. The biography really paints this picture, a bustling house, warmth, humor.
And you realize that's got to be where it all starts, right?
Right.
Those early influences, how people interacted, the whole marriage pressure cooker, it all ends up in her writing.
Absolutely. Even her juvenilia, those stories she wrote as a teenager, you see that sharp wit, that keen eye for how society works. It's all there, just bubbling under the surface.
Speaking of society, it wasn't all like garden parties and witty banter back then. I mean, for women especially, the pressure to marry was huge, E.
Oh, absolutely. And Austen captures that so well. That whole dance of finding a husband, the family connections, the financial realities, especially for single women. She doesn't shy away from it.
Which makes it even more interesting that Jane and her sister Cassandra never married. Sisters before misters.
Right. And in that era, a pretty gutsy move. Their bond, it was clearly something special. Cassandra, she was Jane's everything, confidant, closest friend. You get the sense they both valued their independence, maybe even more than what society expected of them.
And talk about shaking things up. The Austen family picks up and moves to Bath. Big change, going from the quiet countryside to this bustling spa town.
Oh, it was huge. Imagine balls, social gatherings, everyone dressed to the nines. Such a change from her upbringing. We don't have her diaries from this time, unfortunately.
Oh, banger.
But it's pretty clear that this upheaval, it affected her writing.
You're saying city life cramped her style a little?
Perhaps. Because she actually wrote very little during those years, almost like she hit a wall.
A writer's block, but like Regency style.
Exactly. But hold on, because this is where things get juicy. During this time in Bath, she receives a marriage proposal.
Okay, spill the tea. Who is this mystery suitor?
We're talking about Harris Bigwither, wealthy, very eligible. On paper, he ticked all the boxes. So the question is,
Why did she say no?
why indeed?
It's like the ultimate Austen mystery, right?
Yeah.
Turning down Mr. Moneybags? What was she thinking?
Well, some theories suggest he just wasn't that charming, maybe a bit awkward. Others think it was purely practical decision, concerns about their compatibility or her own freedom as a writer.
Which, let's be real, was pretty radical for the time. It's like she was determined to make her own choices, even if it meant going against the grain.
Absolutely. And it seems her journey takes another turn when the family moves again. This time to Chawton, a charming little cottage.
Another move.
Yeah.
You think they had frequent flyer miles back then. But okay, this Chawton place, it's like the magic cottage, right? This biography makes it sound like that's where she really hit her stride. What was it about that place, you think?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Almost as if this peaceful setting reawakened something in her. Because at Chawton, she's not just starting fresh. She goes back, revises some of her earlier work, Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice.
Wait, she'd already written those. She wasn't just like popping out masterpieces one after another.
Exactly. She'd been honing her craft, but it's in Chawton where everything comes together. Completes Emma, Mansfield Park, Persuasion. Amazing output.
It's like the perfect writing retreat, centuries before those were even a thing. So what do you think it was about her novels that made them such a hit? I mean, they're still wildly popular.
Well, she had this incredible ability to blend wit, social satire, and genuine human emotion. Her characters, they're dealing with love, societal pressures, but they feel real, relatable even today.
And hilarious. Don't forget hilarious. She could skewer those social conventions with a single sentence.
Oh, absolutely. That sharp wit is what makes her work so enjoyable. She wasn't afraid to poke fun at the ridiculousness of it all, especially the expectations placed on women.
And her female characters. Forget damsels in distress. They were smart, independent, knew their own minds.
Absolutely. I mean, take Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice.
Iconic. Refuses to settle, challenges everyone, and that wit. No wonder readers fell in love with her.
Elizabeth was revolutionary, truly, refused to be defined by her circumstances, intelligent, strong sense of self. It's what makes her a timeless character, even now.
Makes you wonder, did Jane see herself in Elizabeth? Did she ever find that kind of love, that passionate, independent connection in her own life?
Well, the truth is, real-life romance for Jane wasn't as simple as in her books. The biography mentions a possible romance, a Tom Lefroy.
Wait, isn't he supposed to be like the real-life Mr. Darcy?
That's the theory. Some believe they were quite taken with each other, but it wasn't meant to be, sadly. Their paths diverged, and that was that.
Oh, man. Heartbreaking. You'd hope someone who wrote about love so brilliantly would find it themselves.
It's certainly easy to imagine, and you do see that longing, that understanding of what might have been in some of her later works, especially Persuasion.
It's like all of a sudden those happily ever afters in her books hit a little different, you know? Knowing her own experiences might have been more complicated.
You're right. But whether by choice or circumstance, Jane Austen's life was anything but ordinary. And speaking of extraordinary, well, it's pretty amazing to think that during her lifetime, she was almost like a secret celebrity.
What do you mean?
Well, remember, she published under By a Lady. Can you imagine the guts that took back then?
She was a trailblazer, that's for sure. But people connected with her work, even without knowing who she really was. Speaking of connections, didn't she have a pretty high-profile fan? Like royalty high-profile, the Prince Regent, a Jane Austen fan. Okay, you're going to have to give me the details on that one.
Right, it's true. He loved her novels. In fact, he actually requested a dedication from Jane for Emma. Can you imagine?
Talk about pressure. So she dedicated it to him.
She did, but it's not quite as straightforward as it seems.
Oh, there's always more to the story. I should know that by now. What happened?
Well, while Jane respectfully dedicated Emma to the Prince Regent, she privately found him, shall we say, a bit disagreeable.
But she dedicated a whole book to him.
She did. But it really shows her wit, her subtle way of critiquing society. I mean, here she was, this master of social observation, poking fun at the very system he represented, even as she seemingly honored him.
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. Like, oh, yes, Your Royal Highness, this book is for you. So even with
Yeah.
the Royal Fan Club and all these amazing books, she wasn't exactly famous while she was alive.
Sadly, no. She died young, only 41, in 1817. And remember, she was still publishing as By a Lady. It wasn't until after her death that her brother revealed her true identity to the world.
It's both amazing and kind of sad at the same time. Like, she made this huge impact but didn't get to see it fully.
It is bittersweet, but maybe that anonymity, that separation from the public eye, allowed her to write with such honesty, such sharp observation. Her work endures because it speaks to these universal truths, these timeless human experiences that go beyond any one time period or social class.
That's so true. It's about love, family, the expectations we face, the messy realities of being human. We connect with our characters because they feel real. Their struggles resonate even centuries later.
Exactly. She wasn't just writing romances, she was giving us a glimpse into the human heart with all its complexities. And that's why Jane Austen's legacy remains so vibrant and so relevant, even today.
It's been quite a deep dive, wouldn't you say? From those early years in a bustling country home all the way through to royal fans and literary fame, we've uncovered a lot about Jane Austen, the woman behind the words. And I think it's safe to say, knowing what we know now, those novels hit a little different. She wasn't just writing about love and society, she was capturing the world as she saw it, with wit, intelligence, and a healthy dose of satire. And on that note, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Jane Austen? Have your views on her work changed after learning more about her life? Hit us up on social media and let's keep this conversation going.